skin looks similar to ours, but the color is different. It's gray. Elongated heads, larger sockets for eyes, large eyes. In 1803, the very beginning of the 19th century, on the east coast of Japan in the Hitachi province, fishermen reported that a pale, red-headed, alien-looking woman suddenly emerged from under the ocean waters in a round craft that had symbols on its surface. The woman was inside the craft, clutching a box. Eyewitnesses called her 𝗪𝗧𝗪𝗓𝗪𝗧, meaning ship hole, because her sea craft was shaped like a rice bowl. People who saw the craft said the top was like glass or crystal. You could see through it. When the red-haired woman spoke, it was in a language that no Japanese person had ever heard before. What language was she speaking? Where did she come from? What was in the box? Nobody knows. Eyewitnesses claimed the same red-haired woman and craft were reported in other parts of Japan as if she were flying around in the craft. She was always reported to be tightly holding the box. 177 years later, on December 26, 1980, after midnight, Staff Sergeant James Penniston at RAF Bentwaters Woodbridge in England would also encounter a strange craft with symbols in Rendlesham Forest. When Sergeant Penniston dragged his fingers over the symbols, his mind was filled with zeros and ones of binary code and telepathic impressions of a time machine from a distant future where an advanced civilization was dying out. Its mission was to harvest genetic material from Earth to use as band-aids to extend the future civilization's survival. There was no pilot. The triangular craft in Rendlesham Forest was operated with alien self-activating software. Now here is a comparison of two 𝗪𝗧𝗪𝗓𝗪𝗧 symbols marked with red on the right, and those circles that are variations on the Jim Penniston triangle and circle symbols in the lower left. We are going to see this triangle circle symbol again in a 2015 UFO encounter in the United States. But first, on August 28, 1991, 11 years after Sergeant Penniston touched the symbols on the alien craft in Rendlesham Forest, Soviet authorities were tracking a UFO on a zigzag course at 4,225 miles an hour. The rapid radar track vanished over Kyrgyzstan. 1 year later, in June of 1992, finally, a search party got to where a cylinder-shaped craft with strange green symbols were on it. The investigators reported a, quote, powerful electromagnetic field emanating from the wreckage, close quote. All photographs and videotape recordings were overexposed. They were ruined. The craft had crashed in the Shaitan Mazar Gorge, also known as the Devil's Grave, in the central Tian Shan Mountains of eastern Kyrgyzstan, and clearly they were releasing some kind of radiation that was fogging all the photographs and affected the magnetic tapes. And then 14 years after that, in late June 2015, an Army sergeant with his wife, 2 young children, dog and cat, began moving from Hunter Army Airfield near Richmond Hill, Georgia, and the Atlantic Ocean to Fort Carson in Colorado Springs, planning to go through Atlanta, Georgia on the way. The sergeant set his truck's GPS for the route, and they planned to travel at night when it was cooler, with less traffic, and stay in motels during the day. The husband, that I call Sergeant CJ, and his wife were shocked when a bright white light in the sky suddenly came straight down toward their truck. The Army sergeant estimated that the disc hovering above their truck was 820 feet long. That's nearly 3 football fields and nearly 200 feet high. Bright white sparks projected out beyond the craft, front and back. Below the midline, there was a row of 5 dark-colored symbols, and he told me, quote, "In the Army, I'm a trained observer. I've been doing this for 15 years. I'm able to identify high-velocity rounds, as well as mortars, rockets, artillery, aircraft of all types. I'm trained to do that for whatever comes down in front of us on military missions. This huge craft was beyond anything I had ever been trained for," close quote. Sergeant CJ's wife remembered the UFO surface glistened like an oil slick of rainbow colors when it tilted toward them in the truck. She also thought that there were round lights around the perimeter. This encounter was from 1:25 to 1:29 a.m. in those 4 minutes on the early morning of June 29th, 2015. And this was according to Sergeant CJ's digital watch that he looked at on his wrist when the craft disappeared by blinking right out in front of him. He said, 820 feet diameter craft. I've never seen anything so large, and I am studying it, and it disappeared as if I had shut off a light. The couple felt confused and disoriented. Sergeant CJ said he drove up the road a few miles in tremendous confusion and found a Shake Rag Express on Highway 1 South. When he tried to get out of the truck, he said that his legs felt like wet noodles and he realized he was about to collapse onto the asphalt parking lot, and he grabbed a hold of the door to keep himself standing. But the greater shock to him, as he stumbled, his wife told me he looked like he was drunk as he tried to make his way into this store. He said the Shake Rag Express receipt that he got for the water and some of the food he got for his kids and his wife showed that they were in Wadley, Georgia, way off the GPS course to Atlanta and on to Colorado. The couple had no idea how they were diverted north without realizing it from their GPS program route that should have taken only 4.5 hours for the 250-mile drive from Richmond Hill, Georgia, via Route 16 to Route 75 right into Atlanta. But what happened next implies that the diversion on Route 1 north to the rural countryside of Wadley, Georgia, was under the control of an alien intelligence capable of manipulating the minds of both Sergeant CJ and his wife in order to transmit binary information directly into Sergeant CJ's mind. First, let's compare the June 29th, 2015 Wadley craft symbols with the December 26, 1980 Rendlesham Forest incident. The far left symbol on the Wadley, Georgia disc seems to match the far left bottom symbol that Staff Sergeant James Peniston sketched. After touching those raised symbols on the black, glassy, triangular craft in Rendlesham Forest near RAF Bentwaters Woodbridge Air Force Base on December 26, 1980. Also, Sergeant Peniston's ring around the triangle with the 2 black circles resembles the second symbol from the right on the Wadley disc that has a ring around a triangle with 3 circles, similar to Sergeant Peniston's ring triangle with 2 circles. Sergeant CJ and his wife were so confused about what had happened as CJ continued driving northwest, and they were arguing with each other about what really had transpired right in front of them. And as they drove northwest to Atlanta, again now on a different road, they finally checked into the Magnuson Hotel in Kennesaw, north of Atlanta, at 7:36 a.m. on June 29, 2015. They slept in the day, and then they got back on the road, headed for Kentucky. The credit card sales receipt for the Motel 6 in Paducah, Kentucky, shows that CJ and his family checked in at 5:13 a.m. on June 30th, 2015. Exhausted, everyone fell asleep. But Sergeant CJ found himself waking up in their Motel 6 bathroom, holding a ballpoint pen in one hand. He said he found himself, he opened his eyes out of sound sleep like this, propped up in the door. In his right hand is a ballpoint pen, and in the left is this. He's looking at the back of their receipt, covered with what he said. What are all of these squares and these lines, and what as he trailed off, WTF am I doing with this ballpoint pen in my hand? Now, what you are about to hear, at his request, more distortion for these whistleblowers that were in this time when everybody can be punished so badly for simply telling the truth about what they encounter, what their missions are in relationship to alien intelligences on this planet that our government has known intimately about since 1941. Sergeant CJ asked me to voice alter as Spartan 1 and 2 asked me to voice alter. And what you are going to hear comes from a vivid dream that he had before becoming conscious in the bathroom. In the dream, light gray-colored alien beings wearing dark lenses over eyes similar to but larger than human eyes are warning Sergeant CJ about a threat to Earth. Well, there should be sound. Gosh, I don't know. We went through. I don't know what's happened. Well, I'll go, I have the transcript, so I'll tell you. I said to him, have you seen the symbols in sleep or your mind's eye? Sergeant CJ, well, usually in my sleep, and the first time that it happened was in that Motel 6 in Paducah, Kentucky. I do not remember getting out of bed and walking into the bathroom with a pen and my hotel receipt and doing this writing of these squares and lines. I literally woke up standing there after I had finished writing. Well, have the symbols been repeated in addition to the squares and the vertical lines? Yeah, I've seen them in a dream. And he goes on and says, it was dark all the way around, and the squares and lines are being scrolled past in his mind's eye from his right to left. They are slightly illuminated, like with a light blue color. And I said, well, are you getting any impression of what they are saying in your dream? He said that these beings, he drew this, he said this is what was vivid in the dream before he woke up in the bathroom. And he said they transmitted into his mind about themselves and called themselves the Council of Five. And he said, they're warning me in preparation for something, an alert of what may come or what could come or what is soon to come, or something to that effect. And they, the Council of Five Aliens, are doing what they can to try to help us humans. They are almost to the point where they are outnumbered, and we are going to need to help them help us and get to where we need to be as humans in order to be able to stand a chance of survival. Did you see any humanoids of any shape or size? And he says yes, and now he is describing them to me. Their skin looks similar to ours, but the color is different. It's gray. Elongated heads, larger sockets for eyes, large eyes. In the dream that I was seeing, there was one about where my feet would be, and I could see expressions on its face. It's the one in the upper top. As if with a bit of worry, but it was trying to keep me calm. And then I asked him, did you get any telepathic impressions of warning that there aren't enough of us? There is more of them. Something is going to happen, that this is going to be a big problem, and these beings have been trying to help. And now they can because they don't have enough numbers versus what the enemy might have against them. And he said, well, I think it's more along the lines that what we humans are doing that's going to harm us, such as sending signals out into space, this is not a safe thing to do. That we have technology that we need to expand on, but it is being kept from everyone behind locked doors, closed doors, and only given to certain individuals or something to that effect. And allow all minds, these beings want all human minds on earth to come together to get things done more quickly. Okay, what is going to happen? Whatever it is that's going to happen might negatively affect us. I don't know what that might be. And I say, and if there is a warning or an alert that would imply that something is coming that may be harmful, I'm not sure. I know it is something that will affect us here on earth. I know that our current advancement in technology and how we're progressing is happening too slowly. And the way to fix that is opening up and allowing everyone here on earth who has been kept in the dark or not being told this information. We need to allow all of our minds to know what the governments know in order to solve the issues that we're having to increase our advancement in technology and speed up our process for advancement. And I said, if that doesn't happen, what do you think could happen? He said, I don't have an answer for that, but I have talked with him many times since that interview, and he still thinks there is great concern about something that is coming back or is going to show up, and that these are the beings that he thinks are some that are trying to help us, and they are worried that we are behind in the timeline of getting to a point where we could defend ourselves against whatever is hostile, and that part of the reason is that what the ETs either purposely placed in Roswell and Missouri like Trojan horse to help us as crashes, that because it has been so compartmentalized, so secret, so underground, that we're not at the point in humanity with the technology we would have had if it would have been shared with all the minds on our planet.